Okay, so for my final research project, I wanted to research how climate change was affecting animals and directly endangering animals.
Tell me more!
Okay, so the first animal that I started looking at was polar bears. So, as you know, polar bears live in the North Pole, right?
Do they really?
Yeah, they live in the North Pole, but the big problem with that is that the poles are warming up a lot. So their places are going to become too hot for them to live. And since they're warming, a lot of the sea ice is melting.
Not the sea ice!
So the polar bears have to spend more time on land because of this, and that makes them come into contact with humans more, which can be detrimental for them. And also, they're places that their food and prey may not be able to survive in the warmer waters.
Oh no!
I know. So another one that I looked at was the ringed seal, which, fun fact, is actually polar bear prey.
Wow.
So it also lives in the North Pole.
Not the equator?
No, they will not survive at the equator. So they need Arctic sea ice, which is, again, melting. And these warmer temps boost their parasite populations, which means they might die more frequently. And they're also, their pups are prematurely separated from their mothers.
You can prematurely separate me.
And also forced migration will cause a lot of excess of disease, which is
Bad.
very bad
Disease,
for these.
Bad.
Yes. So another one is staghorn coral, which we talked about coral a lot in class, right?
Tell me more.
So they're very prone to bleaching. And we talked about all the bleaching events, and we looked at the graphs in class.
What causes bleaching?
So bleaching is caused when the sea surface gets too warm for the corals to survive because they have a very specific temperature range that they can live in. But these are normally located in around maybe not exactly around the equator, but in the Bahamas and Florida and the Caribbean.
And not the North Pole?
No, they would not survive in the North Pole. So the next one is the Adelie penguin. They live
those live in the equator.
Nope, they actually live in the South Pole this time, the opposite. So they live on the coast of Antarctica. The warmer ocean and terrestrial temps might be out of their comfort zone and they might not survive. Warmer temps affect their chick hatching times.
Not the chick hatching times?
Yeah, so it might affect their eating patterns, and when they might hatch when there's not as much food to help them, to support them. So warmer temps might also kill their food sources. One of their main food sources is krill, and it needs to live under sea ice to breed and survive. So if the sea ice is melting, then the krill dies, and the penguins do not have any food. Fun fact, there's some Adelie penguins in the movie Happy Feet, but it's not like the main character. The main character is an emperor penguin.
They don't seem very happy if they're all dying.
That's true. Happy Feet, I feel like, is slightly a depressing movie if you really think about climate change. So the next one is leatherback sea turtles. So rising sea levels and more frequent extreme weather events wash away and decrease their nesting habitats. And also with the warming temperatures, the temperature of the sand might be too warm for development within the eggs, which can skew the sex ratio because when they are warmer, it creates more female, and where they're colder, it creates more male.
Wow, I never knew that.
I know. And so it also, shore hardening, which is put in place to combat the effects of climate change, can also take away these nesting sites and disorient the animals. And green sea turtles are actually having the exact same problems as the leatherback sea turtles. So the next one, I know, save the turtles. So the next one is koalas. They have a very specialized diet. Their leaves may lose nutrients with rising CO2 levels. It also makes the leaves have a lot less water content. So because these koalas are not getting their nutrients and their water from their leaves, they're having to venture out of their trees and go travel to find food, which introduces them to predators, and then they die. They get eaten.
Yum, yum, yum.
I don't know how yummy a koala would be. I don't know that I could eat that.
You never specified where koalas live. Do they live in the
They
North Pole?
They live in Australia.
Not the South Pole?
No.
Not the equator?
No.
Not the Bahamas?
Nope, in Australia.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, and then the last one is monarch butterflies. So monarch butterflies live we see them all over the United States, okay? And they migrate north and south depending on the weather and climate because they're very sensitive. They need these environmental cues for reproduction, migration, and hibernation. So changes in climate will interrupt critical stages of their life cycles.
Like what?
Like reproduction, migration, and hibernation.
Wait,
And
butterflies hibernate?
Like when they go into their cocoons.
Oh. What's it called? Chrysalis?
Yeah, when I feel like we were taught as children that they were cocoons, so that's what I'm gonna go
I
with.
feel cocooned like this in my little comfy during the final.
Yes. Oh, did you read that? That seems comfy. Their food sources might die with the rising temperatures. So, and their main food when they are caterpillars is milkweed, but the higher temps may hinder the growth and the quality of the milkweed, so they may also not survive.
Oh no, not the monarch butterflies.
No, so the future is kind of grim for these animals if we do not do anything to combat the climate change that is harming them.
How can we help?
We can help by continuing to combat climate change by reducing our use of fossil fuels and reducing the amount of greenhouse gases that we let into the atmosphere.
I'll do my part in in helping to combat the CO2 emissions that causes climate change.
Woo!
Woo!